Yeah.
Good
How
evening,
come I hear
everybody.
echo?
I'm not sure.
I
But
didn't hear one
good
from
evening,
you.
everybody. Judge Leonia Lloyd, our guest tonight. Good evening to you.
Good evening.
How have you been?
I've been pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty busy, but very good. I have
Busy.
no.
Busy is a good thing.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yep. Because I got a lot of close friends that one just passed, and kind of shakes you up. It shakes you up. So
Yeah.
I'm doing okay.
I done had about three of them in the past couple of months.
Oh, that's no, that's. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's all over the place. It keeps coming. No end in sight.
I know. I know. Looking for a break.
So we're going to thank the good Lord. We're going to take a moment and thank the good Lord for another day in the
Yes.
land of the living. If
Yes.
you're alive and able to hear this broadcast, you are blessed. We got to
Amen.
count our blessings.
Yes.
It's the little things.
Right.
Judge, I got to tell you through this, I've come to appreciate, don't laugh,
I won't.
I've come to appreciate my dog.
Okay. I had two of them, so I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing about my dog is like, no matter what, one was a boy, one was a girl. They could tell when I didn't feel well. They would crawl right up there and look at me like this, like it's gonna be all right. And it was just like they understood. And then, but one day I stayed home and I saw that the dog would sit at the top of the steps and he would listen for my car. And my ex husband told me this. He said, when you leave, that dog sits up there all day. He will not move. But when he hears the car engine down the street, she said, starts dancing and she runs to the window. He said, I can't even hear the car. So yeah, I know. Yeah,
So if anybody's listening out there and you're going through something, you might want to get a pet.
that's true. That is true. Because they made my two dogs made me very happy. So you're right.
There's a limit, Judge.
There's a limit.
You can't be bringing your dog all up in the restaurant and the market talking about this is my companion. Look here. There's a limit to how far. Like when I first got my German Shepherd, he looking at me right now. I'll share anything I have except my crab cakes and my chicken and my ice cream. My crab cakes and my ice cream I'm not sharing.
And they look at you with them little eyes, don't they?
Whatever. Now I'll break down on anything else, but I'm not sharing my Rocky Road and I'm not sharing my crab cake.
Our dog would know. He would sit there. The first one, we were like 16. And my mother sometimes would cook food she knew we would not touch. You could make us sit there all day. We watch it turn dark. My mother would say, "You eat it before it eats you." I said, "No, I won't." But when we got that dog, my mother would go out the room. We said, come here, Pierre, here," and Pierre would eat it all. And we sit there. We said, "Mom, I'm finished." She looked at us, looked at that dog. Nothing was
We think we pulling stuff over on our parents.
said.
But how about this? When you think you're pulling one over on your grandparent and you
Oh,
forget that your grandparent raised your parent,
right,
how they know you better than you know yourself.
right. That's true. My grandparents died before I could meet them. Except I met one. I was 9, but she only came for 2 days. We were supposed to go back right after school got out, and that was going to be in a month. And 2 days before we were to go to Memphis, my father got a call. His mother had died, and so that was the end of all my grandparents. But I'm writing a story right now for Kim Fields' book, right? And I talk about how I meet all these relatives I've never met on my mother's side. She would never go back to Rock Hill. You know, she had experiences with the Klan when she was a little girl, and she just would not go. She would cry. She loved her mother, and her mother was very strong. But when I went there and I heard the stories of her brothers and sisters, it was so many of them. It's about 11, and they had inherited from their mother this great big giving spirit to really help. She made sure all her kids went to college and or some kind of training. So the ones that didn't go, my mother, she became a registered nurse. So you go to college, went to nursing school. Two of them became funeral directors, owned their own funeral home. Okay, so they didn't go to college per se. One became a minister. Okay, and had a big congregation and all that. So the rest of the other seven, they became teachers, etc. But I talk about the one who he went to he did 7 languages, and he went to college, graduated, and then he went overseas, Germany, etc., to universities. He was different, but he surrounded himself with uh, philanthropists, his money, and he brought all this money back with him to Rock Hill and to the areas where the more rural areas of Rock Hill, the black folks that didn't have running water, he built pipelines to make running water go there. When the Klan burned down, he built so many buildings that when they burnt down the school for the little kids, my uncle bought buses and hired drivers to take those kids. They celebrated him. I read this article in 2014. The kids who rode those buses, now that they have children and all this, they said, had it not been for Mr. Chisholm, we would never have gotten an education.
Now help me
And
out. Is this Rock Hill in Detroit or Rock Hill in Memphis?
Rock Hill in South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Yep, yep, yep,
So part of your family is from South Carolina?
yep, yep. I'm sorry, it's in North Carolina. I get the two Carolinas mixed up. but Rock Hill. And that's where my mother's from. My father's from Memphis, Tennessee. And they met in Florida because she was a nurse in Florida. And my father was in World War II, and he was on, I guess the USOs where they danced. They went to the black USO, and that's where she met him. And then the
My
rest
my,
is
my grandma married met a man, my granddaddy, in a similar.
oh,
He was from Puerto Rico, a sailor.
oh, okay.
Yeah. So Judge, listen. So much has been happening in the world. Where do we start?
Wherever you want. Would you want to start with Judge Jackson? I don't care. Wherever you want to start.
I want to save her for a minute.
Okay.
Let's start with the Black News Channel. Are you familiar with it?
I was on there. I was on there for my book, and they interviewed me, and they were very nice to me. And I heard that um, they no longer operating. Is that right?
That's my understanding.
Is it because is it funding or something like that?
So this is my understanding. I can only share my perspective. My understanding is, I think they started with about $50 million.
Okay.
And as was pointed out to me from a colleague in North Carolina, of all places, when you're in media and you're dealing with going up against entities like NBC or Peacock, CNN, entities that lose $1 billion and keep going,
Hmm.
a little $50 million doesn't seem so big.
Right.
I think one of the challenges that they may have faced was having people they could not afford.
Okay.
If you're starting out, you may need to start out with unknown people who are
Right.
hungry,
Right.
who want to invest in this network.
Right.
But if you got to pay all of these people top dollar that you really don't have, media, and then it comes down to ownership too when you look at what you actually own. We're streaming right now on 4 platforms: Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter.
Right.
I know our small little network can't compete with the NBC, so don't try. Play to your strengths.
Right.
Uh, the word says if you're a good steward over little things, then the good Lord will make you a steward over bigger things. But
Yes, he will.
we got to master where we are,
Right.
and especially the finances.
Right.
So it was a great effort. I hope they go back to the drawing board. I look at a lot of our organizations, our institutions, our nonprofits. NAACP comes to mind. They have a 64-member board.
Okay.
Now, I don't know about you, Judge, but that's a lot of people to get a consensus out of.
Right. It's a lot of people.
And it makes you wonder just how effective can you be?
Right. Why would they have so many? I mean, are they looking at name people or something like that?
I don't know. I don't know the answer, but when I look around Baltimore and I think of the NAACP, I think of the Urban League. I live in the heart of West Baltimore.
Okay.
Quite often we don't see these institutions where we are, where black people are.
Hmm.
So I think a challenge in our community often, Judge, is classism.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
have those of us who had the benefit of a college education, were able to go away, see some things. And then sometimes we come back to the community with the same mentality as the European colonizers in Africa. I know
Right.
what's best for you. Like American foreign policy. We're going to go to Jordan or the
Mhm.
Congo and tell them we know what's best for you. Having never spent 5 minutes in their shoes, or making a policy for India, you're gonna send them a bunch of cows to eat when half of India find a cow to be revered.
Right.
So
Right.
just got to go back to the drawing board.
Right.
Keep it simple, and it's got to make money. And if you're just starting off, every dollar you make is supposed to go back into your business. That's what I was taught.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
buy a Cadillac. Don't go shopping.
Right.
Invest right back in your business. Buy myself a new computer. Buy myself a new light.
Right. Right. You're right.
So
You're
I
right.
understand that J.C. Watts was involved, as well as a businessman out of Florida. Noble idea, but we can't. It's like me trying to discuss law with you.
Hmm.
I haven't been trained for that.
Hmm.
So why in
Yeah.
the world would I try to run step for step with you in a field I am absolutely not trained for?
Right. Like you said, you go where your strength is. Right. And and they should really, I don't know how much planning it took, but I've been on some boards, and even a board of 25 people was a lot, because we came from everywhere, you know, and they were flying us in. Now that was money, and they were making money on their conference. They could plan it out and know exactly what they were going to make and how they were going to make it grow before they started doing that. Because at first you paid your own way there. And in one year, I said, the court is not going to pay. We're having a problem in Detroit. And now they're saying people are abusing travel. And I said, I didn't understand at the time what we had been given in a grant was for continued learning. So I was supposed to be able to use it. And they still said no. And then they called me back and they said, Judge, we need you here and we're paying for you to come. And we're taking care of everything. Then I saw after I got there, once they made that decision, they did it for everybody. So, and I know now one thing that they did, they would, you came twice a year. One year they gave you a nice room, and it was in the nice hotel that we were having our conference in. It's always the biggest hotel. And then we came back for the conference. Now we have a suite. I walked into the suite and I told the little fellow who was bringing me in, I said, "This is my room." And I said, "How many bathrooms I got?" He said, "I don't know. I ain't never been in here. Can I come in too?" I said, "Yes." So he walked in. He said, "Oh, you got two bedrooms and you got this pull down bed that looks like an art piece." I said, "That's a bed?" I said, "Show." And so he pulled it down and I said, and then he put it back up into the wall. I guess it was so big a suite that if you wanted to bring people, there's a living room, there's a conference room. I said, "It's just me." It was just me. And I said, wow. But they did a deal with the hotel. If we bring a conference here and we bring over 5,000 folks, these rooms are all free. See, they just wasn't spending money. They were also getting something from it. And this was somebody who knows how to do that stuff. So,
So it brings to mind you get what you negotiate.
yep,
I look at American politics. I look at how our black elected officials fare when it comes down to bringing back the bacon. You
right,
get what you negotiate.
right.
I
That's
think
true.
of the gentleman who is a huge sponsor of our network, Dr. Tyrone Taborn. He is doing big time deals all of the time, including the establishment of a safe space for black people in the metaverse.
Oh, wow.
He's making deals all of the time, but you get what you negotiate. And a lot of times, the old people said, "You have not because you ask not." Other old people say, "A closed mouth don't get fed."
Right,
My grandma made it simple. She said, "Just ask. They may give it to you, but don't
right.
steal." That was her big point. Don't steal, Donna B. She said, "If you want something asked, they might give it to you." But a lot of times we don't know what to ask, or if it comes down to pricing and bidding, we undercharge.
Yes, that's true. Yep.
Everybody yesterday, Judge, was talking about two black icons
Okay.
at the award show.
Oh, yeah.
Any thoughts on that? I really
Yeah.
dare not to touch it.
I was kind of surprised. A couple of things. I know that when Chris Rock made that joke. Now it said that he did not know she had alopecia, but he did a hair piece long time ago, and he's talking about black women and their hair, and he was bringing out how important their hair was. Well, just think how important it is if you don't have any, and you don't want to lose it. I mean, it's not like you voluntarily. There's some people that voluntarily shave it for style. And so sometimes you could touch on something and you don't know what you're touching on. Now, I thought she's had a lot of different hairdos throughout the years. She's shaved it off. Her daughter does the same thing. And maybe he just thought this is another style. I don't know. But before you do that, You can't just be totally insensitive. Now she was sitting there beautifully, regal looking. So maybe he thought that was just a hairstyle. But I saw Will Smith kind of laugh, and then he looked at his wife, and she like he got a sign from her like it ain't funny. And then he just flipped. Okay, he just kind of flipped. And when he went up there, when he said, "And now here comes Will Smith," and it was like he stood there, and I think he thought he was going to say something because he wasn't backing away. He wasn't getting prepared for a fight. He wasn't. He just standing there, and then pop, the smack you could hear across the world, and and then he turned and just walked away and sat down. I said, "Okay, looks like he got a few things he going through." And he is a comedian of sorts. So, how many times have you made jokes? And maybe the people you make jokes about, it ain't funny to them because they're at the butt of the joke. But you did it because you got a license as a comedian, you know. But at the same token, this was one of the big shows of the year. And you got Chris Rock, who's up there. Like he made a joke years ago. They showed that. They said when he boycotted the Oscars, him and his wife, because it was a great movie that Will Smith did, and he should have been nominated. He played that doctor who was from a different country, but he was here and he discovered the brain and the mess up of the athletes in the brain. Will Smith did an excellent job, but he did an excellent job when he played Muhammad Ali. He's a good actor. And he didn't get nominated for that. And his wife, picketed the Oscars, and so he did too. And I said, that kind of don't help, because you don't get picked. There's a lot of people that don't get picked for a lot of years, and then they finally get it. So you can't wear that on the sleeve, but she did. And the thing is that now this is what he'd been waiting for all this time to get the Oscar. And this seems to be the night. It's no guarantee because you got those other awards that you definitely gonna get an Oscar. A lot of people don't get it. They get the other two, but they don't get this one. And this was a night that, I mean, to me, I thought this was going to be the night for him. I was rooting for him because I saw the movie. Now, I've heard some context of his other daughters coming out speaking, saying Will Smith shouldn't get this because our father abandoned us. And it was a bunch of them. It's about 5 or 6 other kids from a first marriage. And they felt hurt. They were struggling, when they were little, and their mother taking care of them. So they feel some kind of way about that. Um, but if he didn't show that in the movie, and that's what the little girl was talking about. You didn't show the whole picture of him. Well, you ain't always got to show the whole picture. Maybe you starting with these two and how these two came about. Okay, and so, but you can't put yourself in the place of the child who feels abandoned. That hurts. And it didn't stop him though from getting this award. It could have if she had started it earlier. It might have, but it didn't stop it. So I thought this night was going to be great for him. But when he went up there and did that, I was like, I don't believe I just saw what I just saw. And I looked at Chris Rock really handled it well. I could tell he was, kind of discombobulated. He was trying to get back on track. He did an excellent job of finally getting back on track and to keep the show moving. Because remember, Will Packard is the one. This is his brainchild. They gave it to a black group to do, the award show, first time ever. And he was doing a heck of a job. He is extremely talented, very creative, and it was entertaining up until that point. And then it kind of just went, whoop. And
Judge, do we put too much weight on their awards? you've been in entertainment.
Right.
One of my favorite, one of Black America's favorites ever is Frankie Beverly and Maze.
Correct.
We
I've seen
never
them a
see
million
them.
times.
We
I've seen
never
them a
see.
million times.
Huh?
No, I've seen them in getting some black awards from black shows, but I haven't seen them get anything like the award show that they have for music. And it's the cousin to the Oscars,
Do we put too much
Grammy.
weight on these awards that we have very little to do with? I mean, I don't know. I've got my challenges. Or I look. Sometimes I look at the NAACP Image Awards, and I look at some of the people that they want to celebrate, and I'm just wondering, what is the message? What are you saying to Black people? Who do
Right,
we have to be celebrated? Our music, our culture,
right,
the way we dance, the way we move and
right,
act, the way we come up with one-liners.
right.
America steals all of this all the time, all the time.
It's true. That is very true. Right. We come up with it, and it's taken. And you look at some of the artists. I remember when I was in entertainment law. What is the guy's name? Ice Baby. Remember that song? And it was I'm
Vanilla
trying to think.
Ice.
Vanilla Ice, and now he does houses, right? He got a house show, okay. But back then, he got big. He was a white boy that sounded black, and he went that route. But I understand he had a lot of problems with the people who signed him. And when you get threats and things like that, you just stop. You don't do nothing else. And you didn't hear from him for a long time. Now he's still known for Ice Ice Baby, but he was like, if we have a dance show here, it was a black dance show, and they would play that song. And at first, nobody knew he wasn't black. They were just playing the song. Wasn't no video yet, you know. And the kids are up there dancing and stuff, and they just going to town. But it just shows you how they, I don't want to say steal, borrow, whatever you want to call it, but we do create that stuff. And then all of a sudden, even the lingo, remember Ron DMC? I was in the suburbs, my sister and we were driving. This is where the real, real, real rich people are, right? And we had a meeting or something out there. But as we were driving back, we saw these teenagers, and they were white teenagers. They had the longest Ron DMC shirt on, and they had the hats turned around. And I said, I wonder what their parents are saying right now, because they obviously worshiped them, and they were tremendously big. And even when I went to Thailand, I saw, and they weren't even popular no more. DMC T-shirts were being sold everywhere, for a little bit of nothing. But and so was 50 cents, and he was big at that time. He did. I don't know if he ever knew they were peddling his T-shirts and all that kind of stuff. But he was very big over there.
We've just been joined by attorney Robert Dashiell. How you doing there, Mr. Barber? Adjust your camera. You got a lot of head space there. I don't want your face to get cut off. There you go. Judge, I don't know if you've... and
I
you're
remember
muted.
him.
I can't... Get your mic.
Who, me?
No, the attorney Dashiell. What you do this time? He's always doing something. He's been in here a million times.
Well, they tell you to test your mic before you come on. So I said, well, how am I supposed to do that? Then I saw the red thing jumping. I said, okay, I'm on. But I do hear myself echoing. As long as you don't hear it, that's fine.
No, you're good.
Okay.
He's
Because
gonna try it
I
again.
hear me, but I don't pay attention to me.
He's gonna try it again.
Okay. Yeah, but you're right. Sometimes I look at the shows and I've watched them every year because I was in entertainment. So that was something that was like, we were going to do that, right? I've been to a lot of stuff and, but I saw these changes and I said, are they getting away from the music to style and I don't even know what word I should use. But if the costumes, let's say that, okay, the costumes, a bit revealing, but were they trying to keep up with that? It's not that the artists aren't talented, but are you trying to keep up with that? So I don't know. I mean, they look at the other shows doing that, and they're doing it, but yeah, I watch them all. I watch them all.
Can you hear me
Attorney
now?
Dashiell, are you with us?
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. How are you, Attorney Dashiell?
I'm I've been up since 4 o'clock this morning, so I don't know how I am, but I'm
What
here.
happened?
Donnie, look, when you get to the table, nobody holds your seat, so you have to watch it even during your sleep.
My God.
What table? He went over my head.
No, I had an idea that occurred to me about a thing, and I was afraid that I'd forget it by regular morning, so I just got up and started working. That's all.
Okay, okay. You have me a little concerned. Well, it's great for you to join us. One topic that we covered, and I got to get your take on it. Not that I want to cover it.
Hold on. Something's wrong. We are getting a lot of echo.
Do you have two computers screens open?
No.
Okay.
Are
Okay.
Say
you
something
here?
again.
Here's
Oh no,
my
I'm still
question.
getting it. Wait a minute.
Oh, now his echo's worse than mine.
Still
Mine
getting it?
only got one echo. He got a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, you brought a whole bunch of aliens with you, Mr. Dashiell.
They all saying what you saying.
I mean, I was
So,
just I was just doing one of these like 2 hours ago, and I had no problem. I don't know. If you can hear me, I'll try to get through it, but I don't know what's going on.
well, do me a favor. Go out and come back in one more
All right.
time.
Yeah, he got a lot of voices that are repeating him. I only got one.
Whew.
And if you don't hear it, then that's fine.
How is the weather out there?
But it's going to be in 2 days. It's going to be 60 something. So and then the next day it'll be 50 something. But that don't mean nothing here. I mean, we had a couple of warm days, and then we had 7 inches of snow. So don't mean that. The climate is so messed up here. We used to be able to predict stuff. Now, no.
So y'all get weather like we do. We get weather like Powerball numbers.
Yeah. Wait.
17, 55, 92, 7.
Yeah, because you all normally have pretty nice weather by March, right? Because
We
I
had a
think I
couple cold days. Yesterday and today have been rather cold. They say tomorrow it'll go back to 65 or so. But listen, I am grateful because there are places in the world that have it bad. We were just talking about Haiti earlier,
Yeah,
and when
yeah.
you consider the series of natural disasters that the people of Haiti have undergone in the past several years, on top of economic sanctions. Hey, here's the topic for you. Haven't talked to you about Ukraine.
Oh, yeah. I feel so sorry. Every time I look at the news, it's so depressing. But I look at those people crying, and I said, the devastation. Like, okay, I've had a few floods, and the first one was horrible, and everything in my basement I had to do. These people lose the whole bill. And so I'm thinking they don't have nothing but what they are pulling. You can't put a house in a bag. what about people who have medication and that thing of 30-day supply and all that? That's out the window. Where they gonna get stuff? Where?
But there's another side to this tragedy, though, Judge.
Mhm.
I understand they were not allowing blacks who were in Ukraine to escape.
They weren't letting I only saw one thing, and these guys were saying they weren't letting them out. I think they eventually got out, but that's because they were on the news talking about
Well,
it.
time out,
And
Judge. How empathetic am I, an African American, to be towards a country that's not very empathetic to people of my hue? And then here's the other thing, Judge.
mhm.
They've shoved this Ukraine thing down our throats.
Yeah, that's true.
There are wars in Africa
Hmm.
that
But
we
nobody
never
helped
hear
them,
about,
and they don't help him.
never even discussed.
They didn't help him.
So
You
it's
know,
like, how much empathy does the world have for what's going on with people of color?
right? They don't.
And then here's my third point. Did Putin just wake up one day and say, hey, I'm going to pimp slap Ukraine? Are you telling me that he just woke up one day and say, nothing else to do today? Let me go mess with Ukraine. Or was somebody over there meddling?
Well, I heard that the history was that Ukraine used to be part of Russia and that they broke away, as a lot of countries do, because the Queen of England was owning everything. It looked like every island I went to, they had her money, and they all started breaking away, all of them, and they became their own country. And when I went back 10 years later, I didn't see her picture on the money no more. Okay. And I asked, "Oh, what happened? You don't have the queen on everything." Oh, we free from them now. So these people freed themselves, and it seemed like everything was going. But Putin, my understanding is that he wanted that back, somewhat like Korea. You
I
know,
thought you were going to say something like Cuba
no,
when Russia came over and put them missiles down in Cuba with the Bay of Pigs, and the United States pimp slapped them. Say you will not be 90 miles from America with these Russian missiles. Now, America was over there. Somebody was funding Poland, Romania, and they were aiming some missiles at Russia, is my understanding. And Russia was like, no, we couldn't do it to you, and you can't do it to us.
so how did that end?
You got everybody siding with Ukraine right now.
Okay, yeah, everybody's siding with Ukraine only because now with social media, the it's like in your face every day. And then they get to you with the heartstrings when you see the little babies, little kids that they don't, have a conscience about nothing yet. They're so little. And you see the women trying to run with the kids and stuff like that, and then blowing up places where women and all these people are supposed to be, hospitals, and you just gonna blow them up. And the first thing
So
I thought, I said, you asking for us to do this so that we get into a war? I don't think so. No, no, no,
let,
no, no,
let,
no.
let's get to the meat and potato subject. We got a Supreme Court justice. I saw Senator Cory Booker last night making passionate pleas. Help me out here, Mr. Dashiell. Where are you with the Supreme Court justice nomination process? Now you done went mute. Say something. No. Well, Judge, you take that. You started off force, Judge.
Okay. I watched that process and it's kind of hard for me to watch it because I'm a black woman. I've been through a lot of stuff. Law school was definitely where you cut your teeth at. With Wayne, it was racism at that time. And I watched what they were vilifying her and degrading her, attacking her. And I'm like, this is probably the most qualified candidate you all have had, period. Okay. And let's look at the last 10 that y'all had, including the man she clerked for. And she has outdone everybody in terms of the jobs that she's had and held down. And I know that some of those jobs that she went for, the higher up you go, the harder it is, right? And she's been through some of this before. I know this. I know this just by the nature of how she's climbing. And I'm looking at this and I said, she's more qualified than anybody sitting on that bench. And when I looked back at some of the people who have sat there on that bench, some of them had no law school degrees, never been there. Some dropped out. Uh, a lot of them weren't judges. I think I got the stats here. None of them were judges, and so they're holding her to a standard, and they're acting like you're not qualified. Now, see, that's where it rubbed me the real wrong way. When you're looking at now, I've got the stats: 115 people confirmed to the Supreme Court, and 40 of them were never judges ever before. 18 never completed law school. 47 of them never attended law school. So when you're looking at, is she qualified? Is she qualified? This girl graduated Harvard,
So, so,
magna
so,
cum.
so, so help me out. What are we really seeing? Are we really seeing overt racism?
Yes.
And
Did I answer that quick enough?
what, what, what do we do?
Well, number one, once I think she gets in, because I do believe she's going to get in, the door has to keep being forced open, meaning that all these young people coming behind her, they got to use her as an example and say, if she did it, I can do it, because it's going to be hard with a capital H. Okay. And I don't mean for her. Okay. And they have to look at her and understand that you're going to have to kick the door in. You ain't going to open it. And they're not going to open it for you. And it's going to be that way for a while until they get used to enough black faces on there. Period. Okay. Because it shouldn't have taken since 1789 for the first black woman now to be sitting up there and to be treated like she was. It shouldn't be. They should have welcomed that, number one. Okay, just like Cory Booker said, they should have welcomed the opportunity and to show how far America's come. Instead, you show how much America has to keep learning.
Some
You
people
know,
won't.
show
Some
them how
people
you
just.
haven't done.
Some people just not going to learn. Let's try. Attorney Dashiell, unmute your mic.
Can you hear me now?
Loud and clear.
Yes.
You got. Thank you.
I don't know what was going on, but let me say this before something happens again. My biggest disappointment with the confirmation hearings was I wish she had stood firm on her right to be an angry black woman.
Yes.
We part of the training that we have had over the years is to deny our humanity, which is to deny our right to feel the feelings that we feel. And frankly, for me, since we've never defined for ourselves what it really means to be black, uh, I look for a black person to one of the signs is, do you act like me? Do you get mad like do you feel what I feel? And because there comes a time when you just got to stop playing the game. There comes a time when you got to say, I stand my ground, whether even if it's not Florida. I'm not moving any further from this. I'm not dancing because ain't no music playing. I ain't singing because I didn't write the song. I'm angry because you're asking me stupid ass questions. Okay?
I agree with you. I agree with you. You know, because I looked at, I said, I know if she got upset or she displayed any anger or if she reacted with any outrage to the insultive nature
Right.
of their questions of their lives and not just outright attack that. I know she was gonna be called an angry black woman. That's what they say when they want you to shut up.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
So they would have said this and then they would have tried to throw her credentials out. Unless you plan for that. And you say, like you just said, enough is enough. And I sat there and I said, sometimes I had turned off because I get mad. I know I couldn't sit there that quiet. I couldn't. I know me. I went off in law school at teachers. Okay. And if I saw that what you were doing, and I was tired of racism. I mean, racism had gotten so bad. We were watching Roots at that time, right? And all of the students at the law school felt racist. This boy, I was packing my little books up to go,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden he was leaping on top of the desk. What? And he got all the way to me and my sister, and he said, "Why is she the color she is?" I said, "Is he pointing at me?" I said, and then he said, "Because your great 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 grandpappy raped her great 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 grandmother." And he went up, and then he jumped a few more desks down. Now, everybody, the white kids, everybody, we were in the motion of leaving the class when he started doing this. So we all froze. And he was getting it off his chest. Everybody was going through, at that time, a lot of racism at our school. And to watch this show, it brought it to head for all of us. And we sit there in class mad, stewing, okay? Sometimes just stewing because you see the difference of how we're treated and how they were treated, okay? And Leona and I got to the point where we had this one writing teacher and he would teach from telling you, do this, wouldn't tell you how to do it. And then after you do it and you do it wrong, he's going to tell you everything you did wrong. That's how he taught, okay? I said, me and Leona said, we're not going to go through this. We said, we marked it into his office, excuse us. We have to talk to you. And so he looked at me and Leona. And he had a problem with us being twins too. He had a problem with that, you know. And because one time he said something about us being twins. And Leona and I said, you got a problem with us being twins? Well, that's your problem. It ain't ours. We all right with it, okay? And so he looked at us and I said, you don't know how to teach. I said, you teach from hindsight. You tell these students in here what to do, but you don't tell them how to do it. You don't teach them anything on how to do it. You give them no formula. You give them no steps. And then when they do it wrong, you say, this is what you did wrong. And then you're going to grade them on it. I said, I'm an ex-teacher. I know what this is. You are supposed to bring everybody to at least a common ground. Now, some are going to go beyond that because they had better education maybe than you were when you got there. But at least give them the tools to understand what they got to do. I said, you don't even do that. So we're here because you don't know how to teach, and we're going to ask you questions because we're going to get this right the first time we hand it in. And we're going to come back every week that you give an assignment. And he just said, well, that's not a problem. I said, good. I didn't have a problem. One teacher was blessing out this black girl. And me and Leona was sitting waiting for our turn to go talk to him. He told her she had the highest LAT score in the state. And she was a black girl. he said, maybe you're not cut out for law school. He said, what did you do before? And she said, well, I majored in art. Maybe you need to go back to that. Maybe you need to keep your opinion to yourself.
Let
And
me
when
give
we got
Attorney
in there,
Dashiell a chance to chime in here. Attorney Dashiell, what next?
Well, the truth is I don't know what's next. In our community we have to stop the bleeding. And when I say that, I mean we have to act precipitously immediately to save the children that are still under our control. Uh, we I look with dismay at the circus a few weeks ago when Flores didn't get the job in Miami, and I say to myself, here we are making national news out of a black man getting angry and suing some white folk because they won't give him a job in an industry where 70% of the revenue is generated by black people. That bothered me. It bothers me. It bothers me when I see the Final Four and even Duke in North Carolina, and I know, and I look at the players, and I know that 80% of them are black, and they should be playing at black schools, and the black schools ought to be getting the money, and not waiting for the modern day slave block, which they call affectionately the NFL draft or the NBA draft. That's just another form. That's just another name for the slave auction. That's all it is. And the thing of it is, and I get tired of surrender. I get tired of we don't teach our children that we became citizens here the same way they did. When our feet hit the soil and the admission that they charge after that, I'm due a refund. Cause ain't nobody else had to pay it, not the way I paid it. You got to pay. You got to pay me back. America owes black people a debt. And when I tell white folk, they get mad, and I tell them why they're mad. You're angry. I didn't say you owed me a dime. I said America. You're angry because you think you own America.
right.
That's why you're angry, and that's why I'm angry because you treat me like I don't. And as long as that continues, I'm gonna be angry, and I don't care whether you like it. I got a right to be angry. I got 400 years to be angry about. I got Tulsa and I got Rosewood and I got a whole bunch of stories. I got a whole lot to be. I got 10 million souls that didn't make it even across the world. I got a lot to be angry about. So you don't tell me that I don't have a right to be angry. How dare you? I'm done.
Can't hear you, Donnie.
I wanted to ask you both about Clarence Thomas's wife. Since we're talking about Supreme Court justices, any thoughts?
Yeah, he seems to be the hidden bomb. Uh, you know, I mean, Clarence was real quiet and everything, but when I started reading some of the stuff she did in those text messages, she kind of like to me like the brain trust behind the plan that they had that failed, but still she was the brain trust, and it was how she was pushing so strong. We're going to take this to the Supreme Court and let this man be the lead lawyer. I mean, it all fell into place. It all fell into place. It almost looks like, and you can read this into it, is that like they were a team, her and her husband. He's on the Supreme Court, and it's like, take it to the Supreme Court. That's the first thing Trump did. Take it to the Supreme Court. Why? Because you appointed some people there, 3 people there, and then the other conservatives, you figured you're just going to get anything you want, because that man just thinks whatever he wants, he should get. So, I mean, why should he stop thinking that? And then she's talking about, well, I do my stuff and he does his. You want to believe that? Uh-huh. Yeah, right. And I got a bridge to sell you if that's the case. Okay. Because it's like she went to the head man. She had a network. She got into the main network. And the only reason she did because her husband's a Supreme Court judge. That's it. And then she got affiliated with all those organizations, all the ones that wanted to overturn the vote. She was supporting that. And then to show how much she supported, she showed up at the rally. Not forget about the fact that, I left before the president came out. So what? There ain't nobody know when you left. Nobody knows. So she seemed to be not just praising Stop the Steal. She was like a main force for the brain trust.
Come on in,
Okay.
Mr. Bob.
She was the one mixing the Kool-Aid for everybody else. She was the one mixing the. She was my. And make no mistake about this. This is not about Trump. Okay. This is about something that we failed to do many years. You don't kill a snake by cutting off his tail. You got to cut the head off. See, when we attack racism, that's the tail of the snake. White supremacy was the head. We left the head in place and chopped off pieces of the tail at a time, thinking we had done something. What we really did was make the head stronger because it allowed the tail to regenerate itself. In the meantime, we went around clapping about a Supreme Court decision that declared as a matter of law that we are legally inferior in any institution that we have, education or otherwise. We called it Brown v. Board of Education.
Here's my $1 million question for both of you. Wasn't Biden the one that helped Clarence Thomas become a Supreme Court justice?
He was one of them, yes.
For Anita Hill while he was running this time, because of what he did and how he did it. And on The View, they said, you owe her an apology. You can give it to her right now. And I was like, let me see this, because they played the clip. And I was surprised of how he was then compared to how he is now. And I said, if you really change, you better start talking. You better start talking, because Black folks are going to see what it is you did and how you did it. Yeah.
Has he changed?
I don't know yet if it's a real change. I know superficially it may appear to be, but I don't know yet. I don't know yet. I mean, he did that apology. I was listening to how he worded it too. And sometimes there's something in the words, okay? And because he said something.
I remember Joe Biden, Judge, not to cut you, I remember he was in Tulsa. They did a press conference for the 100th commemoration of the destruction of Tulsa. And I'll never forget it. He stopped the press conference before he started and went over to this little white girl who was in the crowd.
And what did he do?
Well, he went and greeted her. She was on the front row with her mother.
Okay.
But just from a visual standpoint.
Right. You in Tulsa. And that's for...
Come on in, Mr. Bob.
I'm not real big on symbolism, Donnie. I like to start with the end in mind, and I like to start with a clear view of where I'm supposed to be when I finish, so I know I'm there when I arrive. And our problem is we've started too many journeys without a clue about where the heck we were going. In fact, even worse, we've started journeys where at the end of the day, we weren't even supposed to be visible anymore. We were supposed to sink into whiteness. We were supposed to live to the day when color didn't matter. The greatest line I ever heard is a movie called The Hate You Give. There's a black girl in there that's got a white boyfriend. And she's trying to explain to him the difference. And he says to her, when I look at you, I don't see black and white. And she said, if you don't see black and white, you don't see me. That was a powerful line. If you don't see that I'm different from you, then you're not looking at me. Now, I'm not asking you to look at me to see me. I'm asking you to look at me to acknowledge my humanity. I don't care when you talk to me. This country, The management of the country has been is in the hands of the politicians. We know now if we work collectively, it seems nothing new. They've been saying this back in the day. Down there, they used to say single shoot. You remember? If we use our power collectively and uniformly and appropriately, we can change the management. We can change who's holding the office. We did it in Georgia. We've done it in a lot of places, but it's by fits and starts. It's not cohesive. It's not global. Because for the most part, we can't agree on who to line up behind. See, there's a doorway, Donnie. The doorway only allows one person at a time. And that's for a reason. That's because you can't get through that unless you're willing to trust the person in front of you. That's by design. We keep rushing the door. We believe that we believe that we are crabs in the barrel. We disgrace crabs by saying that. The crabs weren't trying to hold each other in. They were trying to help each other out. They understood that the barrel was the enemy. So where do we go from here? One day at a time, one mind at a time, one heart at a time. We gotta agree on who we follow. We've got to have enough faith to get in line and stay there until you get to the door.
But that's definitely true. You gotta know who to follow. And looking at what Donnie asked too, and I saw the thing go across the screen. I agree. Clarence Thomas, he just needs to recuse himself, first of all, from all the cases that have anything to do with that January 6th resurrection and any of the cases that come from that have anything to do with overturning the election, because that all is part and parcel of the January 6th. That's number one. Number two, I think they do need to form a committee to look at all the things he's voted on, because he dissented on every doggone thing. Everything he dissented on, okay, that made no sense to me, except that he dissents all the time anyway. But now it's on the matters for Trump. And his other three he put in there didn't vote for it. Why are you doing this? Now we hear these messages come out of the sky. And now you see why. And did Bonnie and Clyde here got it going on? Okay? Because that's what it looks like to me. I mean, you sit up there, what are you dissenting for? Oh no, you don't think none of his records should be shown. No, you don't. Come on. And they knocking down these fictitious things of them being false and but not you.
I gotta say this. They dogged Obama about his birth certificate still to this day. But Trump has become president, come and gone, and didn't show his taxes at all. Anyway, I give you a chance to give your final thoughts, and then we'll get up out of here. Come on, Judge, and then we'll go to you,
Okay.
Mr. Bob.
Because he's being made to show the stuff now. And what did the judge say? He may have done some criminal acts. He probably knows already he's done some criminal acts. Some folks is waiting to see, is he going to go to the prison? Are you going to go to prison? Are you going to have gold in your jail cell? Because you like that color. Okay, so what you gonna decorate with? Because you need to go. Because you think nothing can hurt you or touch you. And this man has done so much. He's crossed so many lines, and everybody has just act like he didn't do nothing wrong. Like nothing wrong. Please check him. Now's the time. That's all I got to say.
Come on, Mr. Bob, your final thoughts.
We got to stop living like God was colorblind or fell asleep and left us in the oven too long. We got to start living like we are who we are and look like who we are by design and by intention. And that it ain't never going to work, us trying to live like we somebody else. That we see the effect of it. Clarence Thomas is the effect of it. We end up just like him. And I'm done.
Donnie Glover, Judge, Attorney Dashiell, thank you for joining us this day. It's been a beautiful evening, and we'll talk with you next time.
Bye-bye. Nice meeting you, Judge.
Nice seeing you too, Robert. Bye, Don.